Welcome to show 50 of the Talk and Chatter experience, powered by Gasoline Alley Harley Davidson. Thank you to all the Chatter crew that have sat back and listened to me bang on for the last 15 odd months. I hope you've enjoyed the insight to the motorsport industry that our guests have been able to give us. Thanks must also go to Gasoline Alley Harley Davidson. They've supported us since day one and we wouldn't be able to do it without them, so thank you so much. Episode 50 is with Rachelle Splatt, the Queen of Speed, the first woman in the world to reach 300 mile an hour in a top fuel dragster. Rochelle comes with a list of achievements in the drag racing industry a quarter mile long. Hope you enjoy the show, and once again, thanks for listening. Welcome, Rachelle Splatt.
Thank you.
It's an absolute honour to have you here. So thank you so much, obviously, for coming in. And obviously, we've set it aside a few times lately, but things have been in our path.
Oh no, yeah, a few things have happened, haven't they?
Yeah.
But anyway, we're here now, so it's great.
For sure. Who's Rachelle Splatt?
Wow, that could be a long story, but anyway, I'll try and make it brief. So basically, you know, I grew up around racing. I was born into it. My dad was a drag racer, so I always wanted to be a racer. I always told him I was going to drive his race car right from age 5.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I've just been sort of born into it and loved it. Just loved being around cars and watched him race, helped him, you know, travelled around the country with him, watched him have a very serious accident, which could have very close taken his life. We took a few years to sort of step back a little bit and have a bit of a break from racing, but then it we still had the passion and the love there for racing, so that's when I started after that.
So did that, like obviously your dad's Ian Splatt, for
yes.
people that are listening, did that finish his drag racing time at that period? Or?
Yes.
Yeah, it did.
Yes,
okay.
it did. Yep. He, his car was destroyed. And he never got back into a car himself. That was the last time that he was in a race car.
Right. Okay. So then you'd started. You obviously loved cars from the start.
Yeah. I've always loved cars.
Yep.
Played with Matchbox cars when I was a kid. Always hung out at his factory where he built race cars.
Yeah.
Obviously, there was a lot of racers that hung out there with him, and grew up with all the, you know, the all original races that, you know, were my dad's era. So it was a really good upbringing as far as, you know, just what racing brought us.
What was growing up in a workshop like at that time?
Oh, I mean, back then I didn't know any different. You know, that was just my life. That was our life. So, you know, I just thought it was normal. I was around cars all the time and around. He made wheels and I helped out in the business, and we were just always in a factory with lots of things going on and fiberglass bodies being made and, you know, welding and everything. That was just so normal to me. I haven't sort of, I didn't think anything different of it. Like I didn't really sit back and go, oh wow, this is amazing. Like I knew it was amazing, but I didn't sort of know any different. So, you know, I just, like cars and racing have brought me so much in my life. So yeah,
it's one of those things that people do create like a family from.
Oh
probably,
yeah,
you know, there's a racing family becomes, you know, probably a more normal family than anyone else sometimes.
Oh definitely. Like I always say that even when I post things on social, you know, about my racing family.
Yep.
Because you become family, you become so close because you do something together. As a group that's so intense, important, and you know it so much people have got that commitment, and you're all on the same page as far as what your job is at that race and leading up to that race, and you just become very close, and you all rely on each other to make that team work. So you become very, very close with the people that you work with.
And you ride the highest of highs to the lowest of lows at times too, which you know, it has to bring people closer.
Yes, exactly.
What was your first car?
Road car?
Yeah.
My first car was a 2-door HQ Monaro, which I wish I still had.
Yeah, what an investment.
Yeah. So my dad brought the car. It was like no motor, not painted, like anything like that, and he put it in our shed. I think I was about 15 or 16, probably 16, and he says, go out in the shed and have a look. I've got something for you. He was on the phone. I went out there and there's this two-door Monaro sitting there. So he said, that's your first car. We're going to do it up together. So you can just pick whatever you want. We'll do whatever you want.
Wow.
So, yeah, so we spent a few years doing that and I loved it.
And that was
Like, is that your favourite car?
I love two-door Monaros, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably my favourite. I mean, I do have a couple of favourite cars now, but I wish that, I still kept my very first car. Not just because of, obviously they're sought after now, but, I just loved it for the whole purpose of the car, that I built it with my dad. It was my first car. Many other reasons.
It's one of those things that, like, your first car is always going to bring you memories, but when you actually build it, there's something more to it, hey?
Yeah.
So did you drag race that car or do anything like that?
Not that particular one. No. So I went through a bit of a stage where I wanted to change cars, so I sold it and I cried for about a month and then tried to get the guy that I sold it to sell it back to me, and he wouldn't.
Yeah.
So then I went and bought another Monaro and we did that up as well, Dad and I. It was an aqua colour Monaro, already had like a half roll cage in it. And I drove that on the road. It was a pretty awesome car once we finished with that. And I decided to go top fuel racing. And I'd never actually been on the racetrack before myself.
So how do you decide just to go? Well, you jump in the fastest cars in the world.
Yeah.
And that was your thing. I'm going to do this.
Yes. Yep. So Dad and I went out and bought this top fuel car. Mm-hmm. And then I thought, well, I better actually go on the racetrack with a car and do the lights, like stage and sort of have a go at the lights and just do that before I get in the top fuel car.
Yep.
So I took the Monaro up to Heathcote Raceway in Victoria, and we just spent the day doing burnouts and staging and running down the track. Obviously, a lot slower than a top fuel car,
for sure.
But just to get that bit of practice in as far as the lights and staging.
Mm-hmm.
And we did a pro tree like top fuel, and just did that. So that was the only time that I'd actually been on the racetrack with a car other than a top fuel dragster.
Okay.
So, so technically I did race it, but it wasn't at a race. It was sort of just a bit of a test and tune day and a bit of practice pre-top fuel.
Your next drag car, like your next time, was a top fuel?
Yeah.
What's the process at that time of getting into it? Was there a special licence requirement, or could you basically just go buy a top fuel car and drive?
Back then you could, yes.
Really?
Yes. You can't now, but back then no one had done it before. So there was no rules in place.
Yeah.
I guess no one had really thought that someone would do that, so there was no rules.
Yeah, it's quite extreme.
So I got the top fuel car.
Yep.
Romeo Capitanio mentored me, went through all the driving procedure, how to think, what to do. Basically just went over and over and over things, got strapped in, sat in the car for a long time to get used to that feeling of being, strapped in and not being able to move. So we went through all that before I got onto the racetrack, and then we just basically went through the license processing. So I think we did a day where we just practiced on our own. But before we licensed, and then we thought, we'll go back to, because we did that at Heathcote as well, and we went back and started doing the license runs. We had to do like a launch and a quarter track, half track.
Yep.
You had to do it at two separate events. So I got my license, the first part of it at the first time when I went, and then the second part it took me 2 goes. We went to Sydney to Eastern Creek and finished it off there. So, basically I just jumped in a top fuel car and, I've been around the track for a long time and been around cars for most of my life. So, that helped, obviously just knowing the cars. And so I basically just had to learn what to do inside, just how you drive them.
The process, I guess.
The process, Yep. So after that, there was rules brought in that couldn't be done again.
Yeah.
And people had to work their way up.
You set a precedence.
Yeah.
Because I often, I obviously got to see you at the Winter Nationals and stuff, and I often think it the fastest I've been is on a bike. It was 10.6, and I'm like, that's fast, but I can't fathom how to get 8 seconds, 6. Is there a way just to go those increments faster, or like yourself, you've just jumped into a car that can do? What were they doing at that time? 5?
5s. Yeah. So once I got my license, I actually had set the record at Calder Park at 5.26 seconds.
So you jump from a HQ Monaro into a car that does 5 seconds in 400 metres.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's hard to fathom.
Yeah. So definitely that first time that you take off, really, you kind of think you were there 1 minute. How did I get here? It's your brain doesn't catch up straight away.
Yep.
The more you do it, your body slows it down. It kind of obviously I don't know how it does it, but it gets slowed down.
Wow.
You can actually, think a little, have a bit of time to think and in a whole run, which is only sort of just under 4 seconds, you can actually think about a fair bit of what's going on with the car, assess how it feels, how it sounds, if it's moving too much, what your job, what you've got to do. So it does sort of slow down as far as how you perceive it in the car. Yeah.
I just it just seems overwhelming. Like when you don't do it, I'm happy to go ride a track bike at 300 k's an hour on a racetrack, but to see you go that fast in that time is just, I just don't know how and you see I've watched the process online and the videos and that. There's so much happens. It's not like you're just pointing it and it happens. Yeah,
because you're taking off and then you've got to basically prepare to stop the car, within 4 seconds.
Yeah.
So, I guess that's why they've brought in the rules of people having to work their way up, just so you get used to that speed.
Yep.
And you will have, obviously, if you work your way up and you're used to it gradually, if something does happen, you can judge and assess a situation sort of more successfully if you're used to that speed rather than just jumping in and doing it.
And reacting.
Yeah. So, it's definitely needed to be brought in, that rule. It's, probably the reason that I was able to is because I'd been around cars for so long and I do really feel comfortable in race cars. It's kind of in my genes. Like I just feel like I'm just so natural and I feel so comfortable in a car, probably more so than doing anything else. Everything turned out okay, but, might not for some people that are kind of maybe haven't been as lucky as me to be around and learnt so much out of the car. And so it's good that it was brought in and it makes, everything, obviously safety has to come first with everything.
Yep.
We don't want people hurt or anyone else hurt. So, yeah.
And it is like it was part of your DNA. It was everything that was around you, I guess. And not everyone is like that. Some people have opportunity to do it, but doesn't mean they should do it, I guess, So,
yeah.
I'm going to say it probably lazy. Is it Calder Park or Calder Park?
Calder.
I knew I was going to say it wrong either way.
But a lot of people say us Victorians say things different though. So, yeah. So I've always called it Calder, and that's how I've heard everybody else call it.
Yeah, because I've always called it Calder.
Yeah.
And but I know it's wrong, or might be wrong, because I hear a lot of people from Victoria calling it how you said it.
Calder.
So, Calder. Yeah. What was it like then? Because that place there was so much happening. You obviously set the world on fire when you go and past at that time. What was it like at that time?
Oh, the 90s. It was such an amazing time of drag racing. Like it was the crowds and just the cars, and like it was huge. I can remember racing at Calder at the Australian National Championships, and all the way around you, from one side, all around the back of the track, all to the other side, you couldn't even see grass or seats or anything. There was just so many people. It was an amazing time. Lots of sponsors and companies wanting to be involved with people, which obviously gave a lot of people opportunity to race. Was such good times, and it was really, the 90s were a good year for me as well, really successful, and I guess, a lot of new things happening, a lot of sort of avenues that I sort of went into, and I went to America and I went to Japan, and it was a lot of doors open for me in the 90s because of how big racing was. So, it was a good time back then.
To do the America and Japan thing, did that seem possible when you first got into it? Like, that's such a huge thing.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I followed races in America.
Yep.
I watched them race before I got into the Top Fuel car.
Yep.
Just watched runs over and over again just to become familiar with what they do, staging, routines, all things like that. And never thought that I'd be racing over there with them. Like, it wasn't in my train of thought.
Yep.
I guess I was just sort of trying to do what I was doing here, and that was getting my license and trying to get into Top Fuel racing here, where, a lot of people weren't used to women being involved or coming and racing Top Fuel.
Yep.
So there was a few doors that I had to break down and a few barriers in Australia. So I wasn't even thinking about America. And when I won the Australian National Championships in my first year of racing, which was 1993, I got a phone call from the US saying, we want you to drive our car. Can you come over? So it was, kind of unbelievable, really, how it all happened. And I just went with it. Like, I just didn't know if it was going to happen, but I jumped on a plane and went to America and just, went through the processes and enjoyed every minute of it. And if I got to race there, I did. If not, I was going to come home and race. But, ended up getting a big sponsor over there, which was Luxor Casino.
That's like the coolest sponsor.
Yeah.
Like, to be sponsored by the Luxor in Las Vegas, that's pretty unheard of now.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it was a good look. Like I said, the 90s was an amazing time for racing.
Yep.
Yeah. So, I wasn't really thinking about it. I just, like I said, I just was doing my thing and enjoying the racing and just going along, and just things, just opportunities came my way. And I never say no to opportunities. I always sort of head towards them and see what happens.
That's the way it works, though, hey?
Yeah.
Every time you say no to something, you miss out on endless. But if you say yes, it could go anywhere, hey?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
What, 93 winning that championship, like first year, that must have probably ruffled a few feathers.
It did, I think.
Because it's big. Like, it's
Like, it was hard for me to break into Top Fuel just because being a woman and there wasn't many women racing back then. And also because I jumped in a Top Fuel car for the very first time. Like, that was my first race car. So that was a big shock for everybody as well.
Yeah.
There was a few people waiting just in the backgrounds to see what was going to happen, whether it was going to be a big fail or see how it was going to go. And so I think to come to the Nationals and obviously take home the track record and win the Nationals was not really something that I was planning. I was just happy to be there, like happy to be in the car, racing, learning, enjoying it, and it just kind of the weekend just went, perfectly, and ended up, coming home Australian champion. I think I'd had my license like a month or something like that. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah. So, it was definitely, and the crowd at that time at the track was crazy, and just the whole response of when I won, and it's probably really really standout event for me, I guess.
What is it with oil companies? Like, oil companies have been so heavily involved, and we won't name any names because you're tied up with other ones now, but why do they sponsor it so heavily?
I mean, I'm not sure, what their personal, what they've actually set it as a business, but I guess it just fits in really well with, what we do.
It's been great to see.
And the people and the people they're trying to target. I guess it's just a good fit with our sport.
Some of the liveries along the time and stuff as well. It's just been awesome. Like, obviously, The Winfield one's iconic, obviously, still to this day. But
Yeah.
obviously, what you were running in the 90s, and that was pretty cool, pretty damn cool too. Like,
Yeah. Had some great looking cars.
yeah,
Yeah.
that was just, and same with now. Like, the oil companies do put good liveries together, it seems.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter if it's supercars or whatever. It just seems like they're always, I don't know, it's marketed so well.
Yeah. And I mean, for example, my car with Gulf Western Oil on it,
Yep.
like the livery is just amazing. Like it just really stands out in photos on the track.
Yep.
The colours, the way they've designed it. I think it's a fantastic sort of design that they've done, and you just look at everything that they do, just as far as promoting the business, just on all their advertising. Their logo is just really stands out on everything.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And it's good, like they're not the huge player around international market, I guess you'd say, compared, but you see them pop up at every motorsport event supporting it, and that's what you want out of brands.
Yes.
You want to be able to have those brands involved.
Yeah, they definitely show a lot of support across the board with a lot of motorsports in Australia. Yeah, it's been fantastic.
So tell me about Luxor. How did you get sponsored by Luxor?
It was a while ago now, but the owner of the race car, one of his friends, knew the owner of the Luxor, who owned Circus and Excalibur.
Damn.
So they used to do offshore boat racing.
Yeah.
And the owner of those casinos loved offshore boat racing. Something happened, and he decided that he wanted to change and do something different, and decided to come into drag racing. So we were just lucky to have someone in there that knew the owner and he communicated back and forth with him for us. So that was why we got it. That's why we got the sponsorship.
Wow.
And he actually had a bus, like a mobile home thing that you used to send around to every race. That was just basically for me and the owner of the team to go into and just get away. They had all of our food. Like we used to put in our orders for food, and they'd have everything there ready, like everything we liked, every drink that we liked. So we really got looked after through that sponsorship deal, and fantastic, and obviously met lots of people.
Yep.
Lots of good friends that I'm still friends with today, and just an experience that I'll never forget. I'll never forget my year in the US. It was amazing.
Obviously, joined the 300 mile an hour club.
Yes.
That's pretty impressive, because that's something that's on a piece of history forever, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It is. And that was another thing that it wasn't my goal either.
Yeah.
Like I didn't, like that particular event, I didn't go there or get in the car and think, I want to do this. Mm-hmm. I always want to do my job really well. Like I'm pretty hard on myself, and I'm always like, don't want to make mistakes, and I want to do really well, and I just, want to do my part for the team.
Yep.
As far, the team works so hard on getting the car ready, obviously, and I want to get in and do my job really well to just, so it finishes off the run, good, and I'm not letting anyone down. So I've kind of like put a lot of pressure on myself. So I wasn't thinking, I want to do that, because I'm just focused on my job, and that's it. And that's just getting the car down the racetrack as fast as I can, and, keep everything together. And so this particular event, there was 2 spots left for the Slick 50 300 mile an hour club.
Yeah.
And we were qualifying, and we were just all strapped in the staging lanes. Back then there's like 20 or over 20 top fuel cars. So Tommy Johnson, who was a little bit further ahead of me in the line, he goes down the track and runs, takes the number 15 spot. So I'm just, strapped in, just doing my job, and go down the racetrack, finish my run, and another racer down the bottom says, "Do you know what you just did?" And I went, "No." He goes, "Oh, okay. I'm not going to tell you. You wait. You'll see." So then that's when my team are coming down. Everyone's like clapping, cheering, cameras, everything, and I'd run 300. So I'd actually taken the 16th spot, first woman in the world to run 300. Only non-American as well. So it was kind of all these things that I'd just done first. And so that was a really, really big deal to do. Like it kind of set me, it kind of made my place in America. I was new over there. I was only like my second year of racing. You're very young, early 20s. And kind of like just, I felt like they accepted me and I belonged.
Yep.
Not, it was just one run, but it actually has done so much for my career.
That particular one?
That particular run,
wow.
yes.
Was that a good car?
Oh, yeah. It was a brand new car, that car.
Really?
Yeah,
yep.
It was brand new. No one had driven it before me.
Was there much difference between an Australian car and an American car at that time?
Not really, no, because
Sure.
the Australians basically just buy the US cars
bring them here.
and bring them here.
Yep.
So we just have second-hand cars, older cars. Like over there they'll, retire one of their cars and they'll replace it with a brand new one. So that's when that will come to Australia.
Right.
So same cars, we don't necessarily buy them brand new.
What makes one a good car? Like it's obviously feel. But you've obviously probably had a bad car and a good car. What makes it bad?
I mean, all my cars have been fairly, they've been good cars. Like have liked them all. To me, I think what makes a good car is the people that you have around you.
Team.
The team.
Yeah.
Yeah, the team. Like that's what makes a good car. Just the team that are, keeping an eye on it, making sure it's safe, doing, the little safety upgrades we need to do as things change in the US and new rules come in, just making everything as safe as possible. And I guess just, we check the car like after every run just for cracks and different things like that.
Like through the frame?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because there's so much work. They work so hard each run.
Yep.
So, yeah, to me, I think you can have a brand new car, best of everything, but if you don't have the right team and the right people working on it, it's not going to do anything for you.
Makes sense.
It's the team totally. Obviously, it's good to have a nice car.
Yeah.
Like you can probably say that there's some cars that may not be as safe as other cars just because of maybe the age or maybe, they just need a bit of work or a bit of upgrades in safety.
Yep.
But, yeah, definitely the team.
How's safety changed?
Oh, safety has changed a lot.
Really?
Yes. Like we used to get in the car when I started and I could we were strapped in tight, but we didn't have molded seats. You could sort of move around slide around in the car. Like sometimes my seat would be, a lot more wider than me. Even though I'd have the belts, the seat would be wider.
Wow.
We just used like a foam, like a neck brace. Just kind of little things that back then you thought you were doing and you were keeping yourself safe. But now we've got obviously the hands device, molded seats, all the belts are upgraded, surrounds around our roll cage to stop anything flying, like if the engine explodes, anything flying through the roll cage and being hit, which I have been hit before by part of the engine. I hit my helmet and I've suffered a bit of memory loss for a couple of days.
What happened there?
I had an explosion, engine explosion at Calder Park, and everything was fine. Like the guys come down, got me out. We obviously our event was over. We packed the car up, went home, and then I started experiencing these little moments where I thought I was somewhere else, but I kind of was in another room, and I'm like, how did I get here? Or, what happened? Or one day, I think one time I was on the phone.
Yep.
Forgot I was on the phone, just put it down, and I actually just must have walked into another room, just having these really weird episodes. So then I called someone that was with my car, and I said, can you go and look at my helmet and tell me if there's a mark on it. When I got my helmet, there was a chip out of it. So I'd been hit in the head by something. Went to hospital, had a scan. I had some bruising on my brain from that. So now we have surrounds right around our roll cage, so nothing can go through. We have a lot of safety systems, which we never had before. Basically, you know, we were just in the car on our own with no shut-off systems or anything like that in case something happened. But now, like if we go through the finish line and the chutes haven't been pulled, our chutes automatically get pulled for us. Like the whole system pulls the chutes, shuts the car down, shuts the fuel down.
So if you black out or something happens, like a medical...
something's happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, a medical issue, if you're unconscious for some reason.
So
even if you had an accident, like even if you've had an accident and you're going through the finish line on the side or upside down.
They'll deploy.
Yeah, we've got to have the little box in our car, and there's a trigger at the finish line, and it sets it off. You know, we have lots of safety systems like that. We have, like if the wing comes off or something, it pulls our parachutes. A whole lot of different things that if something happens to us and we're not in control, and the car can sort of pick it up and it's all designed to stop the car as quick as it can. So
then medical responders can be there.
So we didn't have any of that. No. You know, we just got in the race car, you know, could move around in the seat, just had this like foam thing around our neck. Sometimes I used to have a chin strap. Sometimes I didn't, you know.
So what would the chin strap do? Like keep your head in a
keeps
place?
Your head down away from the roll cage so you don't like hit your head back. Yep. So your vision's good. Keep your head off the roll cage so your vision stays clear and not sort of blurry. Because when you do, like I actually take off from the start line with my chin strap really tight, so I'm looking down and my eyes are just looking up.
Yep.
But then obviously once you take off, the G-forces push you back and then you're looking straight down the track. So, I always pull my head down sort of as far as I can to be able to see the staging lights.
Yep.
Just so I'm not going to touch anything. We've got the hands device now to help us as well. So, there's a lot of safety has changed in a big way over the years, and it's obviously only sort of happened, unfortunately, from people getting hurt different ways, and then things are designed to stop that from happening again. And
I guess it's until you test something you can't learn from. Sad, it's a sad way, but that's how things are tested, aren't they? So have you had any like teeth rattling or anything like that ever?
When you get tire shake in the cars, it's pretty bad. Like it is really intense. You just can't see. Sometimes you just don't even know where you are for a second. It's pretty intense. So I had a really big tire shake at Perth, it was, and it actually dislocated my jaw. And the little pad thing that's between your jaw and the bone, like in between the bones, it came out. So I had like issues with that for a long time until I found the right person, which I had to go and see dentists and doctors and all sorts of people to try and work out what it was. So they realised, I finally found a doctor that knew exactly what the problem was. And so I had an operation, just keyhole surgery, and they just like put a little fake disc in there, like to in between the two bones. So, it does so the two bones aren't rubbing against each other. And so I've had that happen through tire shake.
Wow.
And but thankfully that's the only thing that I've had happen. So been very lucky in a race car.
When it's all going good, is there anything that feels as good? Like say, is there, you've done the salt racing stuff, you've done a rocket car. Is there anything compares to a top fueler?
I'd probably have to say no. Like it's the feeling that you get, like when the car's running well. The feeling's amazing. Just as a team, as an individual, just the whole thing. It's just an amazing feeling. The adrenaline, the amount of work that goes into it. It's just sort of like it all comes together. It's just like so worth it. But then on the other hand, when things go wrong, like or even if you make a mistake and you let the team down, you can, I've had some really, really low times as well where I've really regretted something a decision I've made or, sort of been obviously disappointed in an event. So it's kind of really, really highs, but then also really lows when things aren't going right as well, because you put so much effort and emphasis into the weekend or the event. But it's all good. It's like obviously you got to have both.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to have both. And as far as the land speed car, I've only been land speed racing once, so I'm very new to it. And I had to license, so I had to go through all the different stages of licensing.
Yep.
Unfortunately, I didn't get to the point where I was open and I could go as fast as I could. So we ran at 208 mile an hour on the salt. The car can go much faster than that. So next time we go out, which is in February next year, we can go. I can get in and go as fast as I can in it. So that's going to be amazing. But that was a fantastic. Like I did not realise that I was going to love land speed racing so much.
I was going to ask you that. Did you so you genuinely enjoyed it?
Oh, love it. I love it.
What's like? Obviously, it's a long term thing. Like you don't just go there for an hour. Like people are there for a couple of weeks, really, aren't they?
Yeah. We got there on the Friday, I think it was, and we left the Friday after, and no power.
Because it's remote, hey?
It's remote.
Yeah.
It's like 4 hours on this dirt road, really bad dirt road. But when you actually just come over a hill and you see the white salt lake, it's just, it's amazing. It's just the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. So, we camped, no power, no phone.
For a whole week?
For a whole week.
Yeah.
Yes. We just... And you go on the lake. We set up on the weekend. Got the car ready on the Saturday and Sunday, set everything up, and then you race for 5 days. Unfortunately, when we went, the event got cut short because of rain. It rained, but we got a lot of racing in before that between myself and Gemma. So I drive with a girl, Gemma. I've actually got our T-shirt on today.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Gemma Dunn.
Yeah, Gemma Dunn, and we get along like sisters, Gemma and I. So it's family. Like that's another racing family that I have. Like I'm just part of their family, and beautiful people. So it's like the whole experience. Like being with everybody, camping. You get to go out in the track. As much as you can get the car to go out there.
So you get plenty of time.
Yeah. And as far as driving the car, what I loved about it was you really had time to take it all in. Like you're not just, 3.5, 4 seconds and it's over, even though that's pretty extreme 3.5, 4 seconds. And that's, my love.
Yep.
Top fuel. In the land speed car, you just get to, it's a manual. So you get to go through the gears and you get to, just go fast for a long time. Like I was at 200 mile an hour for 2.5 miles.
It's a long way.
Yeah. So it is a long way. You don't realise how, like when you can actually see the whole track.
It's 4Ks, a bit over 4Ks.
Yeah, so 200 mile an hour and just holding a car at that speed for that long. And you get sort of bumped around with the wind, and because you're going so far, the weather can change from the start to the end. You can have no wind at the start, wind at the end, or wind in the middle. Like it's kind of you're going through different stages, so you got to deal with all that. It's just.
So this is not a new thing, but this is something you could continue to do.
Oh yes, definitely. Like we're definitely going next year, and I'm there as long as they want me in the team and want me to drive.
Yep.
Yeah, I love it. It's such a great week to get away in the middle of nowhere. Yes, Speed Week. Yeah.
So now have you got like an unlimited license, or is there something like that, or? So
when I go back, I'm on a 200 license at the moment.
200 mile an hour?
200 mile an hour. So when I go back, if I go over 250 mile an hour, my license will be upgraded to 250 license, and then I'm pretty much open. I can go as fast as I want. So basically our plan is when we go back to the lake is to obviously get the car to 250 and more if we can get it to. So, and that depends on conditions as well. You know, like you just got to have the right conditions out there. Obviously the salt's got to be right, the wind, you know, you're dealing with the weather as well with the salt lake racing. So you got to, you know, make sure everything's right. And, we'll just really push it and see how fast the car can go.
What's it like when you get like, sort of like you said about cresting a hill? Like, is it just heaps of people? Like, is it busy? Like, what's it?
On the lake?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of people. Yeah,
like a full city that just sets up for that week.
No, not really like that. It's like we have the pits like you would here at the drag racing.
Yep.
So everyone sets up the same way and they work on their car the same way as what we would here, and all sort of line up and head out, and basically pretty much the same, except you know, you can go out whenever you want. You just have to get in line.
Okay, yeah.
So you haven't got set times where you're only allowed out. And that all depends on wind as well, because, you know, the motorbikes can't go out if the wind is, you know, a certain strength and stuff like that. So, but you have to be off the lake by sunset.
Yep.
And you're not allowed back on the lake until sunrise.
Right.
So no one is allowed to stay on the lake.
Okay.
You have to camp off the edge. So it's, you know, it's a lot of people, a lot of races there, a lot of teams, sort of not really entertainment or anything like that stuff going on.
Yep.
But a lot of spectators do get there. I was surprised. Like we had a lot of spectators.
I want to go.
You watch, it's fantastic.
Yep.
It's just everyone I speak to that says I'm just saying you have to go. You just have to go to experience it.
Cool.
I'm not a camper. I'm not someone that camps, and I like to have a hotel and electricity and all that sort of thing. But I had the best week. It was just amazing, and just to get away from everything and just race and just be with your team. And it was, and a fantastic week and a beautiful place to race at too.
How'd you go with no phone?
I was stressing about that a lot before we went. Not so much because I had to live without my phone, but I had no contact with the kids.
That's right, you got kids.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we got a satellite phone to use between us. So we just like text. You know, I would text each day with the phone to one of my kids, is everything good? And as long as I heard back from them, everything was good.
Keeps everything calm.
Yes, okay till the next day. So I would do that in the morning and at night, just to sort of, so I felt okay that, you know, I wasn't with them.
There's not many times in life now that you're away from
I know.
a contact for a week. You know?
I
know.
Yeah, so I felt like I had to do that just for my own peace of mind out there.
Yep.
And so that was good. But I did get used to not carrying my phone around.
Yeah, that'd be good.
The first couple of days, I would have my phone, because I was taking photos, so I wanted to take photos and videos. And I'd find myself like going on there and going to like check my emails, like just click my emails. I'm like, oh, that's right, I can't do it, you know. Like you just completely forget. And then probably after the second day, I was not even getting the phone out of my bag. Like I would just be like, oh, I haven't even got my phone out today. Just got used to not having it in my hand all the time.
That'd be kind of nice.
It was.
Yeah,
it was.
It you know, like, you know, when you go to the States and you go there just for a few days, but you adapt to that. Like one of the times I came back was, like we drive on the, what are we on? Left-hand side of the road all the time here, right? But one of the times, like a couple of times I come back, getting back into the habit of driving here was harder. Like that's what I always have known, but I think trying to get back in a routine after a place like that would be a bit different too.
It was.
Yeah.
It was definitely. You go through, I did, and I know a couple of other people on the team did, you go through like a few weeks of like coming back to reality and kind of not dealing with it that well.
Yep.
You know, it's like, it's kind of this overload of everything that, you know, you go away and you're sort of in that zone. Then while you're away, you really just, everything just leaves and you're sort of like, enjoy the moment, and you do forget about all the other things going on that's always going around in your mind.
Yep.
And when you come back, it's like a complete overload. Like everything comes back instantly, and it is hard. I really struggled for a few weeks.
I can imagine.
Yeah, and I wasn't the only one. Like I'd speak to other people on the team, and they go, "Yeah, we go through that all the time."
And you get that sort of mateship. You're in each other's pockets for 5 total days, and it's
and all of a sudden everyone's gone.
Yep.
And you're not talking to anybody, and you haven't sort of got everyone, the whole team there with you, and you're sort of back to having to just deal with all this normal life stuff.
Yep.
And it doesn't sound like a lot, but it just 2 weeks we're away, 2 weeks. Like obviously traveling on the road. Racing and back again, it was a total of 2 weeks.
And it's hard enough just a weekend of racing. When you leave a race weekend, you get that, they always say the post-race weekend blues and stuff.
It does.
I can only imagine it being locked away for that time.
Yeah, it definitely, even after a weekend, it happens.
Yep.
Definitely. But it's like a couple of days and you sort of back in the swing of like normal things, and you've sort of come down a little bit from that high that you're on, and you're back to normal. But yeah, it took us a little while after being at the lake.
I can imagine. So how did Japan come around?
So Japan, that was an international event organised by NHRA.
Right.
And
so they sent Americans there.
America, Germany, Sweden, Australia, New Zealand, and there was two Japanese top fuel cars. Mm-hmm. And so, they just called me up and asked if I was interested in going over as the Australian representative. And so that was my first year back after the US.
So you did 93, the title here?
Yep.
94 US?
US.
And then back
95
here.
back here, and that was 1995 was when I went to Japan.
Yep.
So we went over there, and it was a hard track to get down, like definitely not like a normal track you would see. We had to sort of back the car right down.
Yeah.
To get it to take the power out of it as much as we could. And it was at the base of Mount Fuji.
Right.
So it was, a bit of a drive to get out there as well. Beautiful racetrack though. And, we won the event. Yeah. So that was a pretty big deal over there, like for a woman to come over to Japan and win that type of an event.
Massive.
Yeah. So for women, it was a big deal. It was pretty amazing, like getting to experience that. And we obviously did some sightseeing while we were over there and looked around.
Ship your car from here?
Yes.
Yeah.
Went over in a container.
Yep.
Yeah.
What do they do for that? Do they disassemble parts of it, or
No. We just put the car in and obviously put all of our tools and toolboxes and everything, fuel and everything that we need in the container as well.
Yeah, okay, yep.
Yeah, so obviously, the guys did it, and a lot of packing and straps and to keep everything secure and that. But yeah, everything turned up in one piece over there, and we got to win the event.
So what happens logistically? Did you have a truck over there? Obviously, the organiser probably put together some sort of parcel.
They organised everything.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. Basically, it was like, here are your tickets. This is where you're all staying. All of the races and the teams from all around the world stayed in the one place.
Yep.
So we were all together.
What happened to events like that?
I know.
That's so cool.
Isn't it amazing? It's just, So I was lucky to experience that.
Yeah.
So they just organised everything, buses to get us everywhere around. And when we got to the racetrack, all the containers are there, ready for us to unpack and put in our little garages to get ready. So, we didn't really have to do anything. We just had to
turn up and race.
Yeah, get on a plane, go over there, do some sightseeing, have some fun and race. Yeah.
This time between 93 and 95, you must have been having the best time.
I know.
Like, seriously, like that. Winning a championship, getting to race in America, 300 mile an hour club, winning a race in Japan.
Yeah.
Doesn't get much better.
I know. It was, like I said, the 90s were an amazing time for me.
So what happens after that? You come back home, race here?
Yeah, continue to race here.
In your own car?
In my own car?
Yeah.
Yep.
How was it like, obviously going to America, the same as what I said about winning the championship, you probably ruffled a few feathers doing that as well, like getting the opportunity makes people envious sometimes.
Yeah, I'm sure I did. I'm sure I did, and I try and stay out of all that.
Politics are not good.
Yeah, I always try and stay out of all
good.
that politics type of thing. Obviously, you do hear things and you get told things, but, I always, from day one, just tried to focus on what I was going to do.
It's awesome, yeah.
If I listened to the amount of people that thought that I couldn't do it, or thought that, I was going to hurt someone in the other lane, or I'm going to, bring the name of drag racing down because of what I'm doing. If I listened to all those comments, like you would, and you took it on, you would lose confidence.
You wouldn't leave the house, would you?
Yeah, you would start questioning yourself.
Yep.
So I just didn't get involved. I always just did what I wanted to do. And one thing that really, at the very start, one thing that really got me through it all was Shirley Muldowney.
Mm-hmm.
So Shirley Muldowney was the first woman in America to race funny car, top fuel. And she had to do this. She had to break down a lot of barriers and, what people thought that she should be doing, and people that didn't think women should be in racing. And she went through a lot as well. And it just so happened that my very first race car was her car.
Get out.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, we went and bought this car, and it was Shirley's car, and it had her initials engraved in the steering wheel as well. And so I left it there, turned them over, it was these sort of aluminium pieces that were polished. I turned them over and engraved my initials on the other side.
Yeah.
So it had both our initials on them. So it was her car. So that's kind of what got me. I used to just think, she did it, I can do it.
Yep.
I'm not listening to all of this. And that's what got me through. So that's what I've always done right through my career.
Yeah.
But like I said, I do put pressure on myself. I always want to do well, not make mistakes. And it probably does stem from that a little bit. I want to prove that I can do it all the time, and I'm capable, and, I can be successful of what I've chosen to do. So that's probably why I put a bit of pressure on myself at times. But yeah, I just do what I want to do and what I love, and yeah, it's all worked out for me that way. Then I just don't worry about what anyone else says. Did
you you like it or don't like it? Do you sort of realise that you're a pioneer here, like what you said before?
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. I don't think about that.
No.
When I'm just sort of doing what I do and still pursuing what I love to do. But, people do bring it up and talk to me about it, and then you do sort of think back, wow, I have been doing this for a long time, and, I have done a lot for women as well that I didn't realise that I was doing back then, because I was just doing what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, looking back at that, yeah, you are sort of, part of the, and my dad as well,
Sure.
Just the name sort of, we've had a lot to do with racing, and my dad's obviously been there with building cars and all the safety, he's always built good cars, and he's sort of made his place in racing, and then I've sort of come along and carried it on in a different way. So yeah, but it's not something that I do sort of sit and think about, but it's good to sort of think about that and know that I have done something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess it's one of those things, if you're just living your life doing it, you're just doing what you want to do anyway.
Yeah.
But if there's an end effect to it, even better.
Yes. Yes.
And same what you're saying about your dad and that. There's only really a couple of drag racing families. It's a pretty small network.
Yep.
And the family names that have listed there for years, there's only a few in there. Over generations. So pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Tell me about racing at Eastern Creek. What was that like?
Oh, I loved racing at Eastern Creek.
Cool drag strip.
Yeah. I loved that track.
Obviously pre, what's it now? Sydney
Sydney Dragway.
West Sydney International Dragway, was it?
It was it was WSID, but
then
I think it's changed now.
changed back to Sydney Dragway.
Sydney Dragway, yeah.
Yeah, so Eastern Creek obviously before that on the main straight. Was that good?
It was awesome.
Big crowds.
You had like all the crowds down one side in the grandstand.
Yep.
Then you had all the pits and
Pits
all
with the roof.
the balcony and the corporate sort of boxes on this side. So you kind of had the track lined. The track went up at the end, so it was like, really obviously easy to see everything and really easy to stop. It was a great track. Like everything about it was fantastic. That's where I got my license at Eastern Creek.
Oh, was it?
That's where I actually passed my final license pass. Yeah, at Eastern Creek, and so it's definitely I got a real soft spot for that track.
It was like rock and roll, that place though. Like it was.
Yeah.
It was happening so much.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, great track.
So you got your license there. So what was that like an NHRA? Did they do like a license day or something at the time?
No, we just, back then you could do it at events. So you could come out and say, can we come out what time can we come out and do a license pass?
Yep.
They might have chosen like the last run, like a run after Top Fuel ran. So we might be at the back of the run and then we'd come out after Top Fuel and do a license run. They don't do that now. You can't do it at an event now, but back then you could.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was it like racing a jet car? Driving a jet car. What's that like?
That was different.
Right. What about staging it? I reckon that must be pretty awkward, yeah?
Yeah, it was really, really different, and the complete opposite as far as like, what you did in the car as to Top Fuel car. Like the Top Fuel car was a handbrake, jet car was a foot brake.
Mm-hmm.
The jet car had a hand throttle. Obviously, the Top Fuel car has a normal foot throttle, so it was like opposite to everything.
Yep.
So that sort of was a little bit hard to switch because I actually went from Top Fuel car to jet car, back to Top Fuel to jet, like a couple of times in the year that I was racing. So, I had to reset all the time before I got in. And sometimes I got in the jet car and drove it like a Top Fuel car. Like I'd take off from the start line, let go of the throttle and grab the steering wheel. But you got to hold the throttle on a jet car. So I made a few little errors because just trying to like do the both. But that was pretty awesome to learn the jet cars. It's sort of a lot involved, especially on the start line.
Yep.
Just with, obviously the afterburner and the throttle and letting go of the brake. Like you got to sort of do three things all at one time. So, and I was kind of doing like, instead of all together, I was like doing everything like a bit of a second apart. So I would creep through the start line and then take off, like when the afterburner lit. But anyway, I was only just learning. It was my first time. I got my license for the jet car like the first time I got in it.
Yep.
So basically, Darren DeFilippo went through everything, told me how to drive it, went through all the controls, the procedure. We went out to Calder. We had an NHRA official there, and we just started going through the license processing, the same as a Top Fuel car, like a launch and a half track. Got my license the same night that I actually was the first time in it.
Damn.
Yeah. So so that made me the third female to have a jet car license in Australia. And so that was a good achievement. I was pretty proud that night to be able to do that. It's on the start line too. It's hard to hold it because you got the jet engine at full power.
Yeah.
So you're basically holding this full power, this jet engine on full power with the brake, trying to hold it while you're staging.
Well, this thing's trying to push forward.
And it just it's actually slides on the track.
Yep.
Just slides. So
you
kind of
weird feeling.
Yeah. A couple of times I held it, a couple of times I didn't. It slid through. But so you kind of like just break the beams before the lights go. So that's kind of a bit of Darren did warn me that could happen when I went out there.
Yep.
But I sort of would have been good to have a little bit more time in the car and a bit more driving, but Darren just decided to sit out for a little bit with the jet cars. So never know, might come up again one day.
Awesome. What's it cost to do a run in a Top Fueler? Maybe not financially, but how much goes into it?
Oh, well, each run, each time you take the top fuel card down the track,
Yep.
you basically have to have it fresh, like
Every time.
Every time. So every time we come back from a run, everything comes apart.
Yep.
Like motor, panels, check the car, like everything gets checked, like from front to back. So it's a fresh car every time you take it down.
It's a crazy
so
sport.
It's a lot of work.
Yep.
Yeah, a lot of work.
And that's why the highs and the lows so much. There's so much goes into it.
So much goes into it.
Yep.
Yeah, like you normally have 2 hours between rounds, and that 2 hours is pretty much taken up. Like you need every minute
Yep.
of that 2 hours, and then you sort of rush back out. You do your run again, come back, everything comes apart again. So so if you're doing 4 runs in one day, you're doing that 4 times a day.
Yep.
It's a lot of work.
So 4 motor rebuilds. Obviously, probably NDA test, non-destructive testing for the chassis. I'm guessing that's what they do. So much. What? Obviously, you've had 5 kids.
Yes.
When did you stop racing? What year was that? Because you obviously had a hiatus for a little bit.
Yeah. So I
Have family.
was after. Just trying to think. I had my 3 kids.
Yep.
While I was racing,
Okay.
and so just basically time off, then straight back again.
Yep.
After I'd had each one of them.
Yep.
And after I had the 3rd one, that's when I decided I needed to take a break and just sort of focus on the family for a while instead of trying to juggle everything.
Was it hard to try and juggle at that time?
It was because, it was the racing, the kids, my dad's business, which I worked at.
Yep.
We were starting our own business as well. So there was a lot going on just in life in general.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I just sort of felt like I needed to take a bit of a break. And, when I did sell the race car, like I was, I was always like, I was upset about it. Like I wanted to be racing, but I just felt like I was taking on way too much.
Yeah.
Just needed to have a break with the family. Decided to sort of come back and buy another car and go back to racing. I can't. Obviously, I'm like I'd have to sit down and work out all the timeline, of when this happened.
So much happens.
Yep. So much has happened,
Yep.
and so then I came back and I raced for a couple of years. Obviously, chasing sponsorship. Had a lot of like one-offs here and there, and it was hard to get consistent and sort of get focused with just not a one consistent sponsor.
Yep.
Then had another child, which was my 4th. Had a few years off with him. Had my 5th.
Yep.
And it was when I had my 5th that I decided, okay, that's enough kids.
Yeah. Yep.
I want to go back racing. Like I just sort of decided when he was 1.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like, I just hadn't. It was something I loved, and I'd been away from it for way too long.
Yeah.
So that was when I just sort of just started going through, talk to Dad. Guess what? I want to go racing again. Sort of break the news to a few people, and so I went and bought another race car and trailer. Basically set everything up, and that sort of might been what I've been doing ever since for the last sort of 4 or 5 years, is just sort of moving forward, and always searching for sponsors. Gulf Western come on board and has helped us out a lot.
Yep.
With a lot of my races, and been sort of working alongside them, doing a lot of work for them. So it's been really good. A lot of doors still opening.
That's good.
Yeah.
I was going to ask that. Is it harder? Well, I think things are harder generally for sponsors in anything now compared to the 90s. But is it still doors getting opened and stuff like that?
Yeah, definitely. It's a lot harder.
Yep.
It's very different to
Yep.
the 90s now. But I also put in the category of doors opening of just like life opportunities and as
Townsville
well.
the other week.
Like Townsville the other week.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely. And like going to the Winter Nationals, even though I wasn't racing, but I had the car there. And also, different people coming into my life and
Yep.
just sort of different situations that you wouldn't normally be in if you weren't doing something with the race car. So yeah, I'm sort of, you know, doors opening to me means like a range of things.
Yep.
Because like from experience, like I just know like how many great special people come into your life just through racing and the things that you do.
Yep.
And sort of a big door opening was obviously getting invited to go and team up with Peter Zibaris at Premier.
Yep.
So, you know, that's been amazing for me. Like that's just been a really, really, like I have to pinch myself sometimes still. Like I just can't believe that, you know, he called me up and asked me to come and to join him and sort of try and get the two cars out and sort of, you know, have his team help me and guide me along with my car. It's I mean, they're the number one in Australia. He's Australian, you know, top fuel champion.
Yep.
They're the fastest car outside of America, and I'm sort of teamed up with them. So yeah, it's
a pretty good time.
It's a pretty good door to open, definitely. But already, you know, I've just met some great people. You know, I'm still learning. Like I'm over there learning every day about my own car and just sort of working towards getting my car on the racetrack. And so it's been a great experience already, and we haven't even got to the track yet.
It's cool.
Yeah.
And it's so cool to see, obviously, keep up with what you're doing and stuff, and being in Townsville the other week, performing up there. And, it's exciting.
Yeah, Townsville was really good.
Did you enjoy that? Yeah.
Yeah, it was really, really good. Sort of, you know, got to go away with the team.
Yep.
Wasn't a race, so, you know, we had a little bit of time to sort of, wasn't as intense and full on. And then to see, you know, the people's reaction to the top fuel car on the main straight of the supercar track. And that was pretty good. Yeah, that was a lot of people that hadn't seen a top fuel car before. It's great introducing new people.
Yeah, that's true. They probably, if you live up there, there's nowhere up there that you'd have to come down here. And a lot of
the people were there watching the supercars.
Yep.
But they stayed back on the Saturday night to watch the drag racing demonstration.
Nice.
Yeah, so it was a lot of fun. And to go out onto just a road, you know, and just basically we did a, you know, full main straight burnout.
Yep.
Yeah, it was.
How good.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool, yeah.
What have been some of the opportunities? Like over the years, you would have had some pretty cool things. Like obviously traveling the world to race cars is pretty good. But have you had some different opportunities to do some fun things?
Oh, geez, it's been so many of them. You know, obviously, just, you know, different events that I go to and talks that I do on, you know, International Women's Day. You know, I've been invited to do some talks on those particular days. I was nominated one year for Australian of the Year. So, you know, just that process, and I don't know, it's hard to sort of pinpoint some that stand out, because there's just been so many opportunities of, you know, just photo shoots with different people, being, you know, involved with different races at events, and I actually just can't pinpoint like any particular ones, but it's just the whole, you know, the whole lifestyle really of just always something going on to do, you know, to meeting people and
you just love it, hey?
Showcasing drag racing, you know, to like we've done a couple of talks on AFL like grand final breakfast. You know, I've gone and talked about the race car at a few of those in Melbourne.
Wow.
So yeah, it's just always really good to sort of be around people that don't really follow it, but then once they you talk about it and hear how, you know, 10,000 horsepower, 300 mile an hour in 3.5 seconds, you know, and it's people are pretty blown away by it. So yeah, it's just everything,
Well, I got my first top fuel start line experience at the Winter Nationals.
Oh, yes.
So I've been on the start line a few times.
Yeah.
And like I am a motorsport fan to the core. I got caught on the Willowbank security cameras running away.
Oh, did you run away?
Oh, I shit. It was so. I've done door slammers, funny car, everything, and obviously Gasoline Alley had the corporate box there, and we were out there, and I got messages in my inbox of "Seen you running away." it is, wow, it's scary.
It really punches you in the chest, doesn't it? Like you can't breathe for a second.
No.
And then if it's that as well as the nitro that, you know, in your eyes
Every
and your
sense.
nose, and then the noise that, you know, like you have to, obviously you can't listen to it without either earplugs or something, ear protection. But yeah, it's a whole lot, isn't it?
Every
everything.
sense is alive. And
Yes.
I was like, it just, as I say, I've done all of them apart from the Top Fueler, and that lit me up. That was the day I was with you, and I was just, wow.
Yeah.
I've seen them racing, but not that close.
It's amazing the power that they just like that comes out, like the input of power that comes out. Like
there's nothing like it.
When you're standing there and they're already gone and you're still like experiencing it.
Yeah.
So,
I was traumatized. So it was good though. It was one of the best experiences you could ever have. So it's 10,000 horsepower now.
Yes.
That's about where we're at.
Yep.
That's a lot.
I know.
Yeah, it's an awful lot. I was going to say, so next year you'll be racing in, is it called Top Fuel Australia? That's the plan?
Yes. That's
That's
right.
exciting.
Yeah. We're just working out finer details at the moment. We're still, Gulf Western Oil are on board with us to sponsor a few races.
Yep.
And we're obviously still searching for other sponsors to help us out. You know, hopefully we can sort of get some more people involved and on board with us so we can do the whole season.
Yep.
So, yeah, that's our plan. We're sort of working towards that now, and, hopefully we'll be at the track as many times as we possibly can next season.
Awesome. I've got to ask you one thing. You said about photo shoots. How'd the calendar come about? Was that was yours?
Yeah, yep. That was just an idea between myself and a friend of mine who owned an advertising agency.
Yep.
And we just thought, hey, why don't we just get some girls together? Like the bit of, promotion for them. They can sell the calendar.
Yep.
Have a bit of fun. So, we just sort of sat down and worked out, who to put in the calendar. And, there's so many people that were interested and wanted to be involved. And that's how it come about.
That went really well, hey, that campaign?
Yeah. Well, we didn't really push it in stores or shops or anything like that. What we did is we did the calendar. We did our own promotion of the calendar within motorsport.
Okay.
And then all the girls got, their copies and they sold it at their tracks or their events that they were going to, so they could all make some money themselves. So, if they wanted to really sort of push it, they could sell as many calendars as they wanted.
Yep.
And make some money for themselves. So that's sort of how we did that.
Helps to fund, things like that helps to fund your own motorsport too.
Yeah.
It's a good way to do it.
Yeah. Just, it adds to it and you can get a few extra things, if obviously it's not going to, with me, it doesn't sort of support my sort of level of racing as far as an event, but, it all helps and, every single dollar helps with the motorsport and what you've got to put into it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, your show number 50, I'm stoked that you obviously came in and you're back in a race car. I've been following your career for a long, long time. So thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me in. Thank you.
That's all we have time for on today's show. Thank you to Rochelle for taking the time out to come and educate us about drag racing. If you get the chance, head over to YouTube and hit subscribe on our channel. The other places you can find us are on Apple Podcast, Spotify Podcast. Give us a rating and a review. Tell your friends and be safe, everyone, and enjoy your week.